would Jesus do? It's still happening? I have an idea. Why don't we talk about what Jesus has done? Died and rose again, right?
Oh, I have Jesus in my heart. What I don't have is a beach ball with your name on it.
1 Corinthians 15. It's about what Jesus did.
Thanks.
Awesome. Excellent. I want to get what we're going to get back to church people in just a couple of minutes. I want to delve into the directorial. I can't think of another adjective. The directorial mind, because I could describe your mind in a lot of ways. And, you know,
this is a public show, right?
Yeah. So I want to, but anyway, no, I want to get into your mind a little bit. So you started out as an actor before moving behind the camera, and I'm curious, what made you decide that directing was where you wanted to be?
That's a really good question. So, yeah, I grew up with stars. I grew up in Ohio, so I was fascinated by the movies ever since I was a kid, and I loved watching behind the scenes. Like I loved seeing what the people were really like behind the camera on set, and just it looked so much fun. And so I just remember going, man, I wish I could be in front of the camera and behind the camera at the exact same time. But God's the only one that can do that. So that was not happening. But the Lord was changing my heart over the years, and I found myself more and more behind the camera and enjoying it more. And I mean, so now like the aspirations of being a movie star, if they're super super like minuscule compared to how much I love directing and being a creative producer type.
Now, this is the Faith Action Podcast. We're talking about faith in action. One of the things that one of my soapboxes anyway, is that as Christians, we give up ground in the public sphere too easily, I think. Not to be a jerk about it. I'm not talking about political theater or the nonsense that comes through all the time. But, we don't want to, quote unquote, we want to be winsome. And so we say, okay, fine, you have that over there and I'll have this over here. And you have that over there and I'll have this over here. Well, eventually we're not anywhere. And I think it's important that Christians have a credible impact across industries. From your perspective, Christopher, how important is it for Christians to have a credible impact, influence, and voice in the film industry?
It's hugely important. And when you ask Thor that same question, I'm assuming you might, he may have a completely different answer or go in a different direction. And I don't necessarily disagree with him. Because we are in such a bizarre cultural space right now, that, well, I'll let him answer for him, but I tend to agree with what he says in the sense that it's practically impossible to be an outspoken believer, and I don't mean obnoxious. I mean just an outspoken. I'm living my life as a believer in the Hollywood system. It's like, ask him that one. But I will say I think it's hugely important whether we are in Hollywood or whether we are doing movies ourselves.
Yeah.
They still can have reach beyond Christendom. They still can. So I think it's hugely important. I mean just listen to the testimonies of all the lives that have been changed from, the Kendrick brothers movies and the Irwin brothers movies. And I mean, like, just listen to those stories of how many lives have been impacted both inside the church and outside the church. So,
and and it's important to point out too. I mean, you're a filmmaker. Thor is a filmmaker, and you're not waiting around for Hollywood to produce something for you.
Correct.
You're stepping out and doing it yourself, and that takes a lot of moxie and courage to do, because you know that you might be going it alone in some instances. Can
I share some backstory about that?
Yeah, please.
So Thor will fill you in on before what I'm going to say. So mine comes after his start, but But basically, in 2009, I was in a living situation with a bunch of roommates that was very unhealthy. And so I had to get out. And so I moved into my bachelor pad, married now, but at the time, 2009, definitely a bachelor. And I sensed the Lord doing something in my heart where I needed to laugh because like if you look at my very first 168 film project in 2008, um yeah, the quality isn't quite there because we shot on standard definition, and we didn't have like a gaffer on set and all that stuff. But I thought the story was decent, but I was of the mindset that if I do something faith-based in film, then it's got to be heavy and meaty, and where's the meat and uh and tears, and but I think you know this about me, Andrew. I'm a quirky goofball. So even in my attempt to do a heavy meaty thing, which I starred in, I I still was a quirky goofball because
Yeah.
my idiosyncrasies came out in the acting. And so and there's some there's some comical moments in it, but it was a drama because it has to be meaty, like
Yeah.
it has to be hard hitting. And I felt like I needed to laugh.
Hmm.
And so I had a subscription to christiancinema.com. And at the time in 2009, they were sending out DVDs like Netflix. And so one at a time, I was getting these DVDs. I went to their comedy section, and for the most part, alphabetical order. Well, guess what comes early in the alphabet? B for Bananas Comedy. And Thor Ramsey was
Yeah.
the host of Bananas Comedy. They did like 3.5 seasons. It was on cable in like over 90 million homes or something like that. But I was devouring these DVDs, and I was seeing Thor pop up on the screen. The opening graphics, they're all fun and jovial, and I was sitting there going, man, what would it be like to be friends with somebody like Thor Ramsey?
Mm-hmm.
And now I know.
Yeah. Yeah.